Well, Razorback fans, KJ Jefferson officially opened up about the firing of Dan Enos and what Kenny Guyton is going to bring to the Razorback offense moving forward. So let's go ahead and discuss it on today's episode of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Out of Bounds. You can catch every weekday afternoon from 1 to 4 on 103.7 The Buzz and 103.7thebuzz.com. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more right now, where new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Wednesday, as we are at the halfway point of the week, and still a lot of things going on with the football team, which I know is a crazy discussion right now, and people just trying to figure out what's going on with the team and what to go from here. And there's been a lot of thoughts and opinions on a lot of different things, which is not surprising. I think that anytime you have an offensive coordinator get fired in the middle of the season, especially considering the season that Arkansas has had so far this year, you're going to have some reaction. You're going to have some people that are upset or people that are just frustrated and whatever. But, the one thing that I will say that we had a benefit of having was actually dealing with KJ Jefferson, because we heard yesterday what Sam Pittman had to say about Dan Enos' firing. And we'll actually hear a little bit about something that Joshua Braun, the Razorback offensive lineman, also said in my interview with him on my radio show in the next segment. But KJ was kind of the one I was wanting to hear about, because let's be honest, as far as the player that is going to be impacted the most by this change from Dan Enos into Kenny Guyton is KJ Jefferson himself. Because not only did KJ Jefferson lose his offense coordinator, he lost his quarterback's coach, he lost the guy who's ahead of the entire offense, and he's now going to have Kenny Guyton as his guy. So here's just a little bit of what KJ had to say as he was actually doing a radio show interview, which was really interesting. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that this came from Halftime with Phil Elson and Matt Jones on ESPN Arkansas. And this was actually at a bank and at an event where KJ Jefferson happened to be there. And they sat him down and discussed with him a few things dealing with Dan Enos and moving on to Kenny Guyton. And here's what some of the bit, I should say, of what KJ Jefferson had to say.
I mean, I always have love for Coach G, as we call him, and he once played quarterback before, so he understands from a quarterback perspective and where we see him back there and how the role and how the game is being played from my point of view. So I'm just excited for him, looking for we're going to run the same thing, but it's going to be a slight difference in the offense for us going tempo-wise and being able to do certain things that we're good at and being able to build off those things that we are good at.
So it's really important to kind of break down what KJ Jefferson talked about. With Kenny Guyton coming in there, he says the offense isn't going to change much, but just maybe the tempo that we go about it with. Which, I hear that, and again, some people may have their own thoughts on that, may think it's, whatever, player speak, and, what is that actually going to mean? But I find it pretty fascinating when KJ, knowing what he has been having to deal with as the quarterback and through the offense, of what's supposed to be better, what is supposed to be the offense and how it's supposed to look. And him bringing up just the tempo, it really just resonates of exactly what we've all known and what we all thought about KJ, to where that is what he is most comfortable with. Tempo, tempo, tempo. Faster, faster, faster. That's what he did in high school. That's what he's done ever since he's been in college. That's the most important thing that he can do as a player to continue to try to get better. And I think with Kenny Guyton, and knowing that he not only coached under Kendall Briles at Arkansas, but at previous stops, it certainly gives the vibe that that's one of the things that's been missing from this offense, and one of the things that KJ Jefferson is ready to get back to. Too many slow developing plays, too much hanging out and waiting and pay blah, blah, blah. It's like it just never was to the level of what it needed to be. Now, KJ also had some other quotes in talking about this, and I'm going to read through them, and this is according to hawksports.com. He's talking about Kenny Guyton. He says he came in, we brought the whole offense in as a unit meeting, and he basically broke down the two things that we're going to be focusing on moving forward as an offense. That's enthusiasm, just being able to have fun and be passionate, and accountability. Everybody being accountable for their mistakes. If someone messes up, we have to be able to get on them and pinpoint it and nip it in the bud right then and there. When I hear that, it really enlightens me as to what the problems were. Like, forget what all of our theories were, all right? Forget all that stuff. Only focus on what KJ Jefferson is saying. Think about the things that he's bringing up and what the offense is going to be about. We've already heard him talking about tempo, okay? Tempo and being an important thing of what they're going to do, but also having enthusiasm, which is fun and passion, and then accountability. It seems that those are the three things that they have been missing out on tremendously as an offense. Those three things. It's probably a lot more than that. So I'm not trying to make it sound like, oh, that's it, and now they're good to go. But the fact that those things were the ones that were utilized and talked about and understood by KJ Jefferson of what they were trying to do kind of tells you exactly what the biggest pieces that they were missing. And then when he goes off again, continuing about tempo, he says, we're going to run the same thing. It's a slight difference in the offense is going tempo and being able to do certain things that we're good at and being able to build off those things. The thing about going fast is it creates an advantage for us and a disadvantage for the defense for them trying to get their calls in. We mainly catch them in base defense, so we know what their base defense is. So we're going to be able to attack at different areas of the field. In the past, tempo has been great to us, being able to put points on the board and get up on defenses quickly. I would like to see us moving forward boost the speed of the game up a little bit and catch defenses in bad situations and take advantage of it. Yes, we would. Yes, we would. Like that's a thing where it just seems so obvious, man. It seems so obvious that that's what this team is about. And now, again, I'm going to continue to go back and talk about the Enos thing of how I felt about it because I know I was big on Dan Enos. Because I was under the impression, and there's no probably, I was absolutely wrong about it. I was under the impression that Dan Enos would come in and see what this team has and say, all right, I'm going to run my offense to what this team's strengths are. And when he comes in and sees that they are a tempo-based team, they're a team that's been recruited to be tempo-based, playing much faster and no huddle and getting up to the line, I was thinking that would be the case, but just mixing in a little bit more of pro style to get KJ ready more for the NFL and everything in it. That just didn't happen. And even Sam Pittman said in his press conference yesterday and talking specifically about, being asked about, we saw these plays in spring. We saw rolling out of the pocket in these times. He's like, we saw these in practices. I think Scotty Bordelon of hogsports.com asked him that. And Scotty was just like, so why didn't did they not get ran in games? And Sam Pittman was just kind of like, they didn't. They just didn't. Which sounded like to me that, again, it shows Sam Pittman. You can say it's a bad move or what, but he hires coaches and he lets the coaches coach. He doesn't micromanage. He brought in Dan Enos. He says, all right, Dan, you're in full charge of the offense. You just go with it. And I'm going to be hands off. I'll be over here. So that was just another more evidence of it. KJ goes on to say, quote, we have guys that are playing more confident now and not scared to make a mistake. They want to be coached hard, being able to have a simplified playbook down to where the guys can play faster. They don't have to think as much, and they're grasping the material quickly. Now, when it's on the field, they know their keys, they know what they're doing and looking at, and they can be able to afford to play faster and a lot more confident. Like, forget all the other stuff that, like, Sam Pittman has said. Forget all the other stuff of what people like me have said or any other media member. Right there, that entire deal, that entire thing with KJ Jefferson tells me exactly what was going on. Like, we all could guess, and maybe some of you guessed it correctly, but that right there tells me everything I need to know of what the problem was. You had an offense that was not built for the Dan Enos offense, and they're an offense, and KJ specifically is a quarterback that's built for tempo, that's built for speed, that's built for let's get up to the line, let's throw them off, let's do this, because that's what they were successful at over the past few years. They didn't have that anymore. And because they didn't have that, they lost their enthusiasm. They lost their passion. There was no accountability being thrown around because people weren't doing things and not holding themselves accountable because they didn't believe in the system. And they weren't confident in themselves to where now the playbook was getting too much volume. It was too much. It was too over the top. And you can say if it's talking about, oh, well, the players must be too dumb to get it. I don't give a rip if the players are, football-wise, the smartest football players of all time or the dumbest football players of all time. I do not care. I care about winning. I care about success, just like all of you do. And so if you are a coach who has a team that or a quarterback that can and can't do certain things don't force the issue, because when you force the issue, this is the crap that happens. Like, anybody could have seen this coming a mile away when we hear this from KJ. It was all problematic. It was all a big issue. And the fact that you had Dan Enos not grasping that. And not only just him, but I also put a lot of blame on Sam Pittman for Sam Pittman not saying, all right, we're going to go out and we need to find a coach, find an offensive coordinator that's going to run this style, similar to what Kendall Briles did, that's going to get close to it. Hurry up, no huddle, because that's the team we have. Just, again, shows the absolute failure this whole thing was. And, again, it just makes me mad all over again. I know I'm tired of talking about it, but good grief, man. It's just stuff like this just wants me pull my hair out. It's absurdity. Should have been so easy. So easy. You could have gotten so many great offensive coordinators that could have fit exactly what this team was supposed to do and exactly what KJ Jefferson needed. And you failed at it. Disgusting. Sucks. But I can tell you something that doesn't suck. That is the Jace case, and how it is a personalized emergency medication kit that contains 5 essential antibiotics that help treat the most common issues and the most deadly bacterial infections that you can have right on hand. We know it can be tough to find yourself in a position to where you're unprepared, but that's what Jace Medical is going to help you out with, because they offer customization for your Jace case with dozens of add-on medications, so you can choose the medications that best fit you and your family's unique needs. And the great thing about it is they are continuing working to expand upon their medication offerings. And in those recent efforts, they've added ivermectin as an option for the Jace case itself. And another great thing, too, is that they have gift cards available. So maybe if it's not for you, maybe you already have your Jace case, you can buy a gift card for a family or a loved one so they can get the Jace case of their own. And it's a great thing to check out. And all you got to do is go to jacemedical.com. That's jacemedical.com and enter in code Locked On at checkout for a $20 discount on your first order. That's promo code Locked On at jasemedical.com. We are also brought to you by FanDuel. As we know, with all the great sporting events going on right now, especially the NFL, you need to snap into action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. It's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. You're not going to get much better than that. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and so much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so continuing on with the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, we were talking about what KJ Jefferson had to say about Dan Enos and the changes there, which, again, frustrated me, and it not at KJ, but just frustrated me even more at the situation. And I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. And in that frustration, we all voice it in different ways. Luckily for me, I'm very fortunate to have a podcast and to have a radio show to where if I have frustrations, I can voice them there. I can voice them via here and just yell about all the stuff that's made me mad or that's frustrating me. And, we make it work. But not all of you have that. So some of you voice your frustrations in discussions with your friends. Some of you go to social media, whatever it is. But the deal is you have so many people, especially on social media, that are on this football team that see a lot of the things that get said. Now, I'm not trying to come on here and talk about how, it's terrible of anybody to make criticisms on social media. That's not the point of this point. The point of this point is the fact that players know what they got going on and what the problem is and how they've been struggling and everything. And I had actually the opportunity, just like I do every single week on my show Out of Bounds on 103.7 The Buzz, I had the opportunity to interview Josh Braun, the Razorback offensive lineman, each and every week. And I do a Zoom call with him, essentially. And I can tell you this, just starting off, that Josh has been awesome, man. Josh has been so good at coming on each and every week on time and answering the tough questions, knowing that the offense has struggled, knowing that the offensive line has struggled, knowing that things have been going on and they've had 6 straight losses. The guy still shows up and he still puts his feet to the fire. And I can't tell you how much I respect the man for it. But I asked him a question in the interview that I had with him yesterday, simply about the message to Razorback fans. Because I think that me telling you one thing, you could either do it or you don't. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you could, most of the time, you're probably not going to listen to me anyways. Like, I could tell you all day long of like what you should do or how you should feel and all that, and you're going to do your own thing. But Josh Braun had this to say, and I thought it was really powerful when I'll tell you what, I'll just play the clip for you, and I'll give you the full question and context and his response. And I think you'll be really impressed, not only by him, but also a good realization of exactly how a lot of the players feel during times of struggle during a college football season.
Well, last one before I let you get out of here. I know this may sound really cliche, but I think it's just because, in at least in my business, I have to deal with a lot of the fans. And as you can imagine, I'm sure you've been, maybe seen some of it. Like, I can't even keep up with the ridiculousness of a lot of it, but also the understandable frustrations that fans have too. So as a player on the team and with all the uncertainty going on right now, just what would your message be to all the fan base for the Razorbacks if they're upset, they're wanting, to blow everything up, just cut it all out? Like, what would be your message to those who are just on the edge and really not enjoying this and wanting it to all come to an end? Just what would your message be for them?
So as I was leaving the game Saturday, I was walking to my car, and as I got to the parking lot, this lady Razorback fan got out of her car and walked up to the edge of the parking lot and yelled at us. And she said, "No matter what, we still love y'all." And that meant a lot to me as a player because, at the end of the day, you're 2-6. You're not winning any games for them. They're paying hard-earned money that they worked hours and hours for. They drove however many hours they drove to be at the game. And for us to put that on the field, I understand their frustrations. They're spending their money to come watch us play. And they're entering into a social contract where they're going to support us on the field. It's our end of the deal to go perform well and win games for the state of Arkansas so that they can have a proud college football team in their state that they can show off to everyone. And so I understand their frustrations. I want to thank them for their continued support throughout this season with all the emotions, the negative emotions, because we've been losing so much. I see them. I feel them. I hear them. I apologize that it hasn't gone better. But at the end of the day, just thank you for your support. I respect fans incredibly because I'm not necessarily a fan of any team that I'm not on. I don't. When I was a kid and I'd watch my brothers play, and when they lose, it would ruin my whole weekend. And then when I was like 14, I realized, I was like, why am I doing this to myself? And for them to willingly do that to themselves, put their mood for the weekend in our hands, it's something that we're responsible for, and it's a great honor to be in that position. And so I respect them very much, and I just thank you. That's all I can say.
So that was Razorback offensive lineman Josh Braun. And, I hear his response, and I really appreciated it just from my sake, where, sometimes those type of interviews can really humanize the players and what they go through. But a lot of cases, sometimes fans may not realize or may just assume that the players don't care or whatever. They just got their NIL, they got their money, and, that's all that matters, or they don't care about winning or anything. Then you hear a response like that from Josh Braun, where it was a very powerful message of simply saying, in a paraphrasing way, they know that they're not performing and they're sorry that they're not. That the fans deserve more, that the fans deserve better. And so hearing that from a player like that and knowing the struggles and knowing, say, hey, listen, we know it's not what you want it to be, because it's not what we want it to be either, and we just want to make you proud. And being aware of the fact that there are so many fans that do spend a lot of money, and the travel and everything is it's just refreshing. And sometimes, again, it just kind of brings everything back down. And I don't know if it's done that for you, but it did it for me, of just kind of bringing everything back to reality, of saying, you know what, at the end of the day, there's still college kids. There's still kids that are trying to do their best. Things aren't going well, no doubt about it. But for a player in that position to acknowledge it and be self-aware of it, I just thought was really, really inspiring and really cool. So appreciate Josh Braun laying it out there for all you fans too. Folks, I got to tell you, though, that when it comes to all things sports, we're always about winning championships, right? Well, with passion, drive, and patience, that's what brings home the winning trophy. And it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. With eBay Motors, they have everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers to roof racks to exhaust kits to LED headlights and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. How about a little basketball for you? Eric Musselman met with the media, I guess today at the time of the recording of this podcast, and discussed some of the things that are coming up against Purdue this weekend, which I can't tell you how excited I am. I can't wait to get up there for that game. I still think they're going to be 18,000, 19,000 people there. It's going to be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a bye week. People are starving for basketball, and you get to see the one of the best teams in college basketball in Purdue coming down. And there were just a few things that Eric Musselman was able to update all of us with dealing with the Razorback basketball team. Number one is Trevin Brazile. So Trevin Brazile, of course, is still working his way to get back into the swing of things, and he was able to make his debut in the exhibition game against Texas Tyler last week. And he only had 4 points, 3 rebounds, and 1 block, and he spent 20 minutes on the floor. And so it's a matter of, okay, how much are they going to work him, because he's still working back from that injury. And Eric Musselman felt like with Trevin Brazile that they're going to really work at just about maybe 15 to 25 minutes in the Purdue game. They're not going to play him too much. That's the only thing that they feel comfortable in playing him. And they said that he feels like they're mentally and physically, he's talking about Brazile, mentally and physically ready to take on the upcoming season. But I'm fine with that. Like, I'd love to see Brazile play a lot during the game against Purdue, but we also know Purdue, and it's an exhibition game at the end of the day, so it may not matter as much. Also, Jalen Graham, as the other player, he did not perform against UT Tyler. They've been sitting him out, and it's basically where they're trying to work him back into the mix too. But Eric Musselman discussed Jalen Graham and said that he tried to practice on Monday, but was not moving at game speed, and even kind of made the comment of, we're not going to play him if he was like he was yesterday, I can tell you that. So I wouldn't expect Jalen Graham to play in the game against Purdue. So we'll talk through some previewing once we get closer to that point against Purdue, but still, I think it's pretty safe to say that these are kind of the things you're going to have to deal with. Brazile is going to play no more than 25 minutes. I'd be surprised if he played more than 25 minutes. I think 20 minutes around there is going to be the case for him. And then Jalen Graham doesn't look like he's going to play. So you're talking about two of your, like, at least one of your biggest guys or your taller guys isn't going to play. And you got Zach Edey coming to town. So it's really going to come down to Mekhi Mitchell, maybe Bay Fall, maybe a little bit of Brazile too, to try to do what they can against him and trying to slow him down. I think he's probably going to go and get his. He's a really good player. He's a really good player. It's just a matter of, can they slow him down? Maybe get in foul trouble. That would be huge for him too. But he's a very large man. Also, it was announced about the Rady Children's Invitational that's happening in San Diego next year. That's the basketball invitational that Razorbacks are playing in. You know, last year they played in Maui. This year they're in the Bahamas. And next year they're going to be heading out to San Diego, which, as you can imagine, Eric Musselman is extremely pumped to be playing in. It's going to be at the Lion Tree Arena on the campus of UC San Diego. And Arkansas is going to be joined by Purdue, ironically enough, Notre Dame, and BYU in that event. So they're excited to be a part of it. In fact, Eric Musselman even said he's very, very, very excited He says, quote, when you think about the teams that they're going to be there, it's a great field. I'm super excited to be able to see my mom, that my mom will be able to have the team over to her house for a really good meal. And I'm kind of excited to show the guys that this is where I grew up. This is the outdoor court I played on. Here's the beach we go to surf on. I'm completely excited about going to San Diego. So, again, I think that was something that they were really wanting to do, and Muss was really wanting to be a part of too. And so it's not really surprising that that's going to be the case. So heading out to San Diego, got a little bit of the field now recognized, and says we'll see what happens when we get to that point next season. But appreciate everybody listening into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter, BuzzJohnNabors, for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. We'll keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you then.